Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
There was never agreement about the money. She just paid. You know, that was her husband.
If she didn't
there
pay,
was
there
no
would've been
there was
funeral,
no agreement. She just did that because that's what
Because
a wife
there
is
would be
supposed
no
to do.
funeral
There
on
was
that
no
day.
funeral, but there was no agreement about anybody paying anything back.
In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. Stop. Is that true? I don't want you to understand. I want you to overstand.
Yes, sir.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. That's not gonna happen. Not up in here, not today. And boom goes the dynamite.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Georgia Murphy claims she was entitled to her late husband's ashes, but a mortuary employee gave them to her stepdaughter instead.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
Ms. Murphy is suing Rose Catherine Murphy and Connie Pines in the amount of $7,000.
All parties have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. It's always challenging for me when I'm dealing with family members suing each other, but especially family members who are squabbling over someone who's no longer with us. And it's unfortunate that this is where we are in this case and that you all could not resolve it. I understand that we have Miss Murphy here. Miss Murphy or Mrs. Murphy, you are suing in the amount of $10,000 or return of your husband's ashes. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. You all are from Michigan, and the statute for the maximum amount of monies that can be in a small claims matter is $7,000. So I just want to start by saying that even if I were to award the plaintiff monies, that amount cannot exceed $7,000. But you're suing your daughter over the ashes, and the ashes, from what I understand, are of your father. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And those are the ashes right there? You
Yes,
brought
Your
them
Honor.
here.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Murphy, I'm going to start with you. Tell me the story.
Your Honor, I'm very perturbed about being here today. This is not a position that I would choose to be in.
Of course.
My stepdaughter, or as I call her, my bonus daughter, we have always had a wonderful relationship, and I can't imagine how we got to this point.
Okay.
And my son Dwayne has talked to me about it. We've discussed it. And in the process, I want my husband's ashes. I want them. He belongs with me. We were married for 39 years. 39 years. And sure, we had our ups and our downs. But it was truly a match made in heaven. Mm-hmm. And when all of this back and forth stuff started, I wanted to talk with my bonus daughter about having it my way. But Charles came to me.
You acknowledged that you were saying, I want things done a certain way.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Hold up, did you catch that? Georgia says her late husband came to her in a dream and told her to let it go. That's the emotional pivot right there. And yet she's still here in court fighting for those ashes. So here's the question for you watching. Is this about justice or closure? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were Georgia?
Charles came to me in a dream. And in this dream, he said, let it go, let it go. And so I'm prepared to let it go as long as I walk out of here with him in my arm, in his urn.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me, Miss Rose Catherine. What's going on?
My stepmother is suing me for the ashes of my father. Now, me and my father had a estranged relationship, but before he died...
Why was it estranged?
He married her, and he started being more there, I would say, for my stepbrother. I want to just say for them, because, they're my stepbrothers, but I feel like he gave them more love and attention. But I will say, before my father died, we have been working on our relationship. And I love...
What caused that process to begin?
I want to say when my mother died. My mother also passed away. So when my mother died, I feel like it kind of rekindled our relationship, even though he's married again and, you know, with other children. Before my daddy left, me and my sisters, our bondage with our father grew. Our love was stronger than ever. And I feel like that's why me and my sisters deserve to take our father's ashes.
Okay. And what was the understanding? Because we have here Ms. Pines, and you, I believe, represent the mortuary,
Correct, Your Honor.
all right? How did you find yourself in the middle of this?
We had a legally binding contract with Ms. Rose. We provided the services, and
When
we
you
are
said
not
you had a
responsible.
legally binding contract with Rose Catherine,
Correct.
you, Rose Catherine, ended up making all the funeral arrangements?
So yes, me and my sisters, we took care of the repast. We took care of the flowers, which we designed ourselves. Everything for the funeral. Some personal
What about
issues.
the program and?
Yes, the program. So what I was supposed to pay the money. Some personal issues came about, and the check bounced.
Coming up on America's Court.
I should have looked at it that way. Maybe because I was just so hurt. I missed
Stop.
all that time with my
Stop.
father.
That's what it is. We're dealing with the fact that you were hurt. And hurt people hurt people.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross, Emmy nominated for Outstanding Legal Courtroom Program. America's Court is back with the case of Georgia Murphy, who is suing Rose Catherine Murphy and Connie Pines for breach of contract.
Mrs. Murphy, you have your son here.
I do.
What is the purpose for him being here?
Because he has been a witness to all of this back and forth stuff
Okay.
from the beginning.
Sir, coming up.
This courtroom just went nuclear. Dwayne's calling his stepsister evil and accusing her of pettiness while she fires back, saying he humiliated her at a high school reunion by serving her court papers. This isn't just about a funeral. It's about years of resentment exploding under the harsh lights of legal scrutiny. Would you say Dwayne crossed the line here? Or was he just trying to make sure justice was served?
And your last name is?
Gross.
All right, so Mr. Gross, tell me from your vantage point, what's going on here?
Judge, what's going on here is it's just a bunch of nonsense. My evil stepsister is just messy. She's just messy. She's going for retribution. She's upset, and she's only telling half truths.
All right, what's the other half?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm sorry to cut you there, but he's trifling. You want to know what trifling is? Right after I went and got my father's ashes, I had to go to my high school reunion. Even though I was still mourning my father's loss, dealing with all this stuff, do you know he served me papers at my high school reunion?
I sure
How
did.
embarrassing, humiliating that is. People that I went to high school with, they knew that this is my stepbrother, you know, my dad and mom divorced and he got with him, and he served me.
Because she
after
ran
my
off
father
with the
just died.
urn.
So talk about
And what
petty,
happened,
petty.
sir?
Judge,
Petty Dwayne.
We had an understanding with the Pine
Trifling.
Mortuary
Let him
that
talk,
my
man.
mother, we had an understanding with the Pine Mortuary that my mother and I were going to come by later in the evening and pick up the urn.
And why
She-
was that if Rose Catherine did all the planning and made all the arrangements and entered into the contractual agreement?
Well, what happened was they notified my mother that her check had bounced, and they said they couldn't proceed with the funeral unless payment was rendered. So my mom stood up and she paid for everything, over $10,000.
Okay.
We discussed that my mom was going to wear white and sit in the front row. When it came to the day, she sat in the front row and she wore white, while me and my mom had to sit in the back row.
I did.
She had her sisters up there with
I
her.
did.
That was disrespectful to my mom.
Very.
So I'm not going to let her get on a plane and shoot back to Florida with her urns without us having to say so. I really do
Well,
believe.
what was the understanding regarding the urn, Miss Pines? What were you told?
Well, per the contract that was signed, we released the urns to Rose as she was the one who signed the contract with us.
She was in breach of the contract when the check didn't clear. So now you've got a contractual relationship with a new party, being Mrs. Murphy, correct?
Not necessarily
I signed
to
all the
my
paperwork,
knowledge, because we had a contract with Miss Rose. If Georgia decided to make the payment on her behalf, that was an agreement between the two of them. We are not involved. We're not responsible.
Okay,
Your
so
Honor.
Miss Murphy, what was the agreement?
Because we went to that particular mortuary, because so many of my family members had been taken care of by that mortuary, and we were very pleased with their services. And so the indication was that we would work together. But then when my bonus daughter decided to behave as she did, she left me off the program.
You mean like the obituary?
Yes.
She totally removed
Your
her
name
from-
wasn't listed
was not
in the
it.
obituary?
She had a small picture in the collage.
I added her
on
in the collage.
obituary.
Her picture was in there.
Wait, didn't you say you were married for 39 years?
39 years, Your Honor.
correct.
And
I'm-
she's not listed in the obituary, and she was married to your dad for almost
for-
40
for
years?
one-
Judge,
Georgia-
that's just part of the trifling.
Well, no, I'm a little...
This moment is jaw-dropping. Georgia, who was married to this man for almost 4 decades, was left out of the obituary. Think about that. Not a mention in the tribute to her own husband. Legally, that doesn't change ownership of the ashes. But ethically, that's cold. Even Judge Ross looks stunned. So I'll ask you, does excluding her from the obituary tell us everything we need to know about Rose's true intentions?
amazed that someone would be left off who had that long of a relationship with the deceased.
She was not communicating with me. At one point, she wanted things her way. And
You already said that. Why would you leave her out of the obituary as if she never existed?
Judge,
I
she's-
didn't-
she's
I-
No,
resentful.
I'm asking Rose Catherine.
I didn't leave her out intentionally.
Whose decision was it to write the obituary and print it?
It was mine.
Okay, so you obviously proofread it, and you didn't stop and go, "Oh, my stepmother is not listed here. Let me add her."
Thank you, Your Honor.
I mean, I could even see if they weren't married, and saying, "Well, they weren't married, so we're not going to include her."
But I'm his daughter. I mean, you can get a husband or wife, and they can leave you whenever they want. But I'm his daughter.
But she didn't leave him. She stayed with him until the end. Is that correct?
That is correct,
That's
sir.
correct.
That is
So
correct.
she didn't leave him.
You're right.
You know what it is? She has a resentment against my mom, like it's my mom's fault. It's not, Judge. She's upset that her mother strayed away in their relationship and had an extramarital affair, and she's upset at that. She's upset that my father, her father, raised me and my brother since we were 13, and he spent the quality time with us and not with them. She's using it for retribution. That's exactly what she is.
My mother wasn't a dog. She didn't stray away.
If he stayed with the same woman after your mom for 39 years and still wanted to have a relationship with you, and he was like a dad to this gentleman, that says a lot about who your father was.
Amen.
I should have looked at it that way. Maybe because I was just so hurt. I missed
Stop.
all that time with my
Stop.
father.
That's what it is. We're dealing with the fact that you were hurt, and hurt people hurt people.
I understand that, sir. And
Okay.
you're 100% right.
Coming up on America's Court.
Was that your policy, that you were not going to be, your mortuary was not going to proceed unless somebody had a check that cleared?
Correct. Yes.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross, Emmy nominated for Outstanding Legal Courtroom Program. America's Court is back with the case of Georgia Murphy, who is suing Rose Catherine Murphy and Connie Pines for breach of contract.
When was it when the check bounced? Had it been a few days prior?
The
Was
day
it?
of the funeral.
Okay, there's no funeral if the check bounces, because most mortuaries, they're like, we got to get our money before we proceed, otherwise everything stops right here. So if she hadn't written the check, what would have happened?
Probably want to have the funeral, sir. I have to figure out. I have personal issues going on that nobody knows about. So
Well, Ms. Pines, I can speak on my own experience, but was that your policy, that you were not going to be, your mortuary was not going to proceed unless somebody had a check that cleared?
Correct. Yes.
Who made the decision to have him cremated?
Cremated.
Did you make that decision?
Well, that decision was made when we spoke together that he would be cremated.
Mm-hmm.
And when it appeared that her check had bounced and that the whole thing was going to have to stop right then and there, It touched me in such a way that I can't describe. But I wanted everything to go along as we had planned. And then when your check bounced and I had my son get my purse.
Important detail here. There was no agreement that Georgia would be reimbursed. So while she feels entitled to the ashes because she paid, the mortuary and legally, even the court, could argue she was simply helping family, not buying ownership. That distinction matters. It's not what you feel is fair. It's what the law can prove.
Took out my checkbook and wrote a check. I have a receipt. I have a copy here that I can show you.
So the monies that we're talking about, I'm still not quite clear.
There was never agreement about the money. She just paid. You know, that was her husband.
If she didn't
there
pay,
was
there would've been no
there was
funeral,
no
Judge.
agreement. She just did that because that's what
Because
a wife
there
is
would be
supposed
no
to do.
funeral
There
on
was
that
no
day.
funeral, but there was no agreement about anybody paying anything back.
Why do you think, Mrs. Murphy, that you're entitled then to the ashes?
Because he was my husband. He was my life.
Coming up on America's Court.
How is it that the mortuary is a part of the lawsuit if the agreement was with Rose Catherine?
Because they gave us a false impression that, one, we would be able to meet them at a specific time at the mortuary and pick up the urn.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross, Emmy nominated for Outstanding Legal Courtroom Program. America's Court is back with the case of Georgia Murphy, who is suing Rose Catherine Murphy and Connie Pines for breach of contract.
Was there a conversation with anybody about who's going to get those ashes? Because up until this point, did you pay for the cremation as well?
So the initial thing was Miss Georgia wanted a closed casket. We wanted an open casket, so we did come to some type of agreement. We decided to have a viewing, and then for the funeral, the casket would be closed. But like I said, things changed, and we had them cremated, and so I kept my daddy's ashes. It's not like I can go to the grave every year and see my dad.
And that also applies to her husband of 39 years.
My husband.
I'm just trying to understand, how is it that the mortuary is a part of the lawsuit if the agreement was with Rose Catherine?
Because they gave us a false impression that, one, we would be able to meet them at a specific time at the mortuary and pick up the urn. So that
Who gave you that impression?
Miss Pines did.
Is that true?
We got there at 2, and my stepsister, who I don't consider a bonus, got there at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you have
Wait,
to.
I'm asking Mrs. Pines, or Miss Pines. Did you tell them that they would be entitled to get the ashes because they paid?
I did not, but yes, someone on my staff did upon looking at my receipts.
Okay. And ultimately, why didn't they get the property then? Is that because you're saying that she came earlier?
They came early.
You
That's
all was
exactly.
expecting to come at a certain time and have the ashes, and then they didn't.
And she got there at 10.
At 10. She came 10
So
in
you
the
guys still
morning.
come at 2 o'clock and
And no
the
ash.
and they're already gone.
Already gone.
Got it.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. This is America's Court with Judge Ross, Emmy nominated for Outstanding Legal Courtroom Program.
If there was an agreement that the mortuary made, the mortuary is in breach. If you made an oral promise to the party that paid, then that was a contract, and the written portion of that contract was the check itself. That then becomes the written agreement. The question is,
Judge Ross breaks it down like a legal professor. If a promise was made by the funeral home to the person who paid, and they violated it, that's a breach, even if the original contract was with someone else. And in this case, the breach wasn't by Rose. It was the mortuary. So Judge Ross does something strategic. He can't give Georgia the ashes, but he awards her $2,500 to send a message. Legal chess at its finest.
as it relates to Rose Catherine, you're not going to get those ashes back. The breach was not with Rose Catherine, the breach was with the mortuary. And they're no longer in possession of the item, so they can't legally turn it over to you. Only the person who's in possession, and that would be your bonus daughter.
Thank you.
I'm going to award you $2,500, ma'am, because the fact of the matter is this was your husband, and you were somewhat involved, but I think it makes a statement to the mortuary that they can't handle business like this with people's lives. That's not going to fly up in here. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That is the order. Case closed.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The co-defendants are ordered to pay $2,500.
What you just witnessed was a masterclass in courtroom dynamics. A judge who dissected emotion, law, and family dysfunction and made a ruling that upheld both justice and decency. Georgia didn't walk away with the ashes, but she got validation. The mortuary was held accountable. And maybe, just maybe, this broken family can start a rebuild. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns. This is where law meets life, and the drama is very, very real.